Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Hey, movie lovers, I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson. We are the hosts of the Next Reel Film Podcast.
If you're passionate about films like we are, you'll love our show. Each week, we dive deep into a movie, discussing everything from the story and performances to the cinematography and score.
Not to mention budgets and awards. We have covered iconic series like Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather trilogy, examining themes of power, family, and the dark side of the American dream.
We've explored the works of groundbreaking directors like Catherine Bigelow, discussing her mastery of tension.
We've looked at heist films, great car chases, great years in film, couples on the run, and more.
Our discussions go beyond the surface, examining what makes each film tick. We believe that when the movie ends, the conversation begins.
And we'd love for you to join that conversation. Find the Next Reel Film Podcast on your favorite podcast app or at thenextreel.com.
The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Do you ever get to the end of a movie where the hero had to make a difficult choice, and all you want to do is talk to people about whether they made the right one?
Watch an episode of Star Trek and spend the next few days thinking about the rights of synthetic beings like Data and the Doctor. I became a co-host of the Superhero Ethics podcast because I love those questions, and the people at Wendy's are tired of hearing me talk about them.
We're not a review podcast. We're more interested in questions the characters face and how different works approach similar questions. Sometimes we'll even go behind the camera, talking about how on-screen media gets made and how that affects what questions get asked, which ones don't, and who gets to ask them.
We hit a wide range of media: movies, TV shows, books, and video games.
You can find us under Superhero Ethics wherever you listen to podcasts or go to theethicalpanda.com. But you can also do far more. We love listener feedback and we'll happily talk about your questions or comments on air, and members get special bonus content.
Hashtag not sponsored by Wendy's.
Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed. Just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Make Me a Nerd. I'm Mandy Kaplan, a mainstream mom on a mission to explore all things nerd culture that I have been missing out on my whole life. And I don't do this alone. No, that would be boring. That would be uninteresting. That would be self-indulgent. I share this. I request people I love to be my gurus and guides in the world of all things nerdy, and there is no one I love more than the filmmaker, podcaster, erstwhile Tom W. Metz III.
The erstwhile part is my name.
I wasn't going to do it as you requested.
I get it.
My
Mandy,
first guest.
what's that? My first guest, and now I'm
guest.
a part of the Two-Timer Club.
Two-timers.
I'm going to have a shirt made. It is an absolute pleasure to be back. Big fan.
Will you also have a shirt made for Chrissy Lenz?
100%, because she gets the first one. Yeah. Like mine was going to be slightly less quality. There'll be like generation losses every time that there's more second timers.
Well, look out, Pete Wright and Kyle Olsen. Tommy's making t-shirts.
Yeah.
Well, how have you been? How do you think I've grown as a solo podcast host in my episodes so far?
From listening from the beginning, you definitely have more trust in the actual process. If you remember from episode 1, you had me take, I think, a 3-hour-long quiz about what I was a nerd. Like you were.
What kind of nerd are you?
Yeah, what kind of nerd? Like you were having segments and bits and stuff like that. And while that was like very fun and all of that, you just don't need it. And I love the amount of, there is a version of this podcast, and I think you and I talked about it early on, that would just be kind of like, how did this get made? Like you would sort of be snarky and making fun of all these things, but instead you bring so much empathy and genuine interest to it. You really throw yourself into it, and that's what makes this so much fun to listen to.
I knew you'd praise me if I asked that question.
Yeah.
There's no way to get out of it, right?
Right, pretty much.
And do you like what I'm wearing? Okay.
I love it. Okay.
So there is a very specific reason I brought you here today, Tommy.
Yeah.
Get comfortable. I have heard you nerd out about horror films. Not necessarily something that immediately you think of as nerd culture, but I am learning that fandom and when things have a rabid fan base and conventions and people obsess, that's considered nerdy, nerding out about something, even
Sure.
though horror isn't necessarily part of sci-fi, fantasy, gaming, nerd culture.
Right.
Fair?
I would say fair. And also, though, within horror, there's a lot of different types, and some can be seen as more nerdy than others.
Oh, have at it. Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, I think there's mainstream horror. There's, the slashers, there's Scream, there's all of those. Smile is out there right now. But Smile is actually an offshoot, is sort of a gorier version of this new horror boom that we had, which we'll get to. The movie that we're talking about today had an enormous impact on it. It's what was called heightened horror or enlightened horror.
It's more psychological is what I imagine you mean by that.
Horror got smart and horror
Okay.
got patient. Usually they'll hit you with a big scare in the beginning. That's just sort of horror 101. But then they will
Okay.
spend a long time making you get to know. And then there's always a subtext involved.
Do you think Blair Witch was one of the forefathers of this?
No, I wouldn't say so, just because I think that Blair Witch was it is more known for doing so much with so little.
It's my podcast. Don't contradict me.
Pretty much, I think Blair Witch is probably the best example
Yeah,
of what we're
okay.
talking about.
Uh-huh.
I
Lesson
mean, Blair,
learned.
Blair Blair Witch was just such a incredible marketing feat. Also, that people went into the theater really believing that these people, and they didn't pay the actors, but they made the actors not appear on
Right.
anything, so they would really seem lost and seem lost throughout the run. I mean, that's why they're like suing now.
Right.
Those original
Oh,
actors.
I didn't know that, but I
Uh,
said right like I knew that. Yes, suing. No, what I meant though is that it gets in your head and you spend the whole time, even though nothing's happening, you spend the whole time afraid and on the edge of your seat. That's what Blair Witch was supposed to be doing. And that's what I think of as this heightened horror. It's not about, slashing bodies anymore. It's
It's
about horror of the mind.
Totally. I think that makes exact sense. And a lot of what the Babadook and a lot of other movies in the enlightened horror or heightened horror genre have to do with is it's internal horror. That
Right.
there's a monster in them, but the monster is really trauma. The monster
Yeah.
is really grief or sadness. There's also the manifestation of that.
Right. Now, total tangent just for a moment. Have you seen Smile 2 yet?
I have. I saw it in the theater and I thought it was scary. Wait, do you swear on this one? I don't remember.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. It was scary as heck. It was really scary. I'm a huge fan
Whoa,
of the first
Tommy.
one.
Simmer down with the words. I am a huge fan of Smile 1. We've
Mhm.
talked about that. And I'm dying to see Smile 2, but I haven't yet.
Yeah. Well, Smile. I'm glad that you brought up Smile because Smile is incredibly indebted to this movie.
You could say the name of the movie.
Oh,
It's like people clicked on the episode knowing we're talking about the Babadook.
the
So,
Babadook, Mr. Babadook. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised because when you picked the Babadook, when you said we wanted to talk about it, I have seen this movie a lot, but I haven't seen it in like 6 years. So to rewatch it was really exciting for me. And one of the things, I mean, Smile really, in a fine way, bites off a lot of this movie.
Mhm.
From the idea of from even that shot of the monster going into her,
Mhm.
in effect, when it's on the ceiling and it falls. I mean, that's
Right.
that's the big turn in both of the movies,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
The reason I chose Babadook, it came up, and I've heard you reference it at dinner parties and such, or when talking about horror, maybe because we used to co-host the Saturday Matinee for True Story and other things where often we would reference movies and that just happened all the time.
Yeah.
So I'd heard of it many times, and then the thing that clinched it for me, and I said this on the podcast, I apologize to my listeners, but in Scream, the reboot of Scream with Jenna Ortega as Drew Barrymore, and she answers the phone, and he's like, "What's your favorite movie? Halloween?" And she's like, "Ew, no, I'm into." I don't know if she uses the phrase heightened horror, but she's like,
Okay.
"I love the Babadook. Have you ever seen that one?" And that made
That's
me
fun.
think, this is something people are nerdy about. This movie is
Sure.
now being referenced by other movies. So
Yeah, that's a great reason.
I was dying to see it, and that's how I'm going to justify talking about it on the Make Me a Nerd podcast.
I love it. I think this is totally fine because it is not a tradition. It's more traditional now, but when people think of horror movies, they don't think of things like this. They think of Scream. They think of, Nightmare on Elm Street, which are really, and I mean, when this came out in, what was it, 2014? Do we want to say?
Mhm.
Okay, 2014, like we were knee deep in Insidious movies, and the Conjuring universe
Okay.
was really getting started. Those were actual monsters. There wasn't a lot of subtext going on. That was the other coming in, or we're the other like this. And the fact that this is really a manifestation of grief, depression, the horrors of parenthood, all of those things.
Right.
Which
So
is
for
really
those who have not seen it, it's a very small Australian film. I didn't write down actors' names because I'm a jerk, but the actors are all incredible. And Jennifer Kent is the writer-director. And the story is simply that this mom whose husband died while driving her to give birth to her son. Now her son is supposed to be 6. The kid actor is clearly 10, but that's
Right.
another story. So now she's got this 6-year-old son. She's still grieving, and they read this children's book. Do we know where it came from? The Babadook?
Well, we can talk about that. Do you want to talk
Okay.
about that now, or
No, they read
that'll
this
be
book, and the
Mhm.
book is creepy as shit about this guy who's gonna creep into your room at night and inhabit your soul, and then all that happens. That's the whole story. It's just mom and son, and their worlds are unraveling because of the aforementioned grief, but also this and then this book.
Right. Correct.
Okay. I did not elevator pitch that very well. So right off in the movie, the sound design of this movie is so spectacular. Is that the nerdiest thing you've ever heard me say?
No, I love it though. You're exactly right. Yeah.
Erstwhile, it's they start off and they're in a car and she's here, or it's her dream sequence, and you could tell when things are far away and close up, and everything is so intensified and vivid in the sound world. The movie's colors are very muted, and
Right.
it's a very bleak gray world they live in.
Correct. And that's which makes a ton of sense what to do the sound design that way, because we're really seeing the world through her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what her world is. She suffers from horrible insomnia or oversleeping at times. She has terrible jaw pain. Like, she is a tense mess. And so that's probably sort of a version of what she's hearing all the time.
Essie Davis is her name. I wanted to
She's
get that
amazing.
right. Oh my God, she's so good.
Yeah.
Really good. So they show us the kid's room, and he's into magic, nerd alert, and he has this old-timey Thurston the Magician poster that Casey has.
Oh, really? Oh, that's adorable. Does Casey have one of those, like, I can toss a baseball across the room? Does he have, like, anti-monster things also?
He does not have weaponry.
Okay, got it.
But I saw the poster and I was like, well, I like this movie already.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yes. You said, where did the book come from? I want to talk about the book.
Yeah.
Because as a woman who has read a million children's books to Casey, and in my job, I narrate children's books. This one was so well done. It was believable. It had the pop-up qualities as they're reading the book, and it's a bright red cover. It's the most colorful thing in the movie.
Mhm.
And then the book is only gray and black and white, and it rhymes, and it's so creepy, and the kid flips out in the
Right.
end of the book.
Yeah.
But where did the book come from? Did I miss that?
No, we do not know, but I have a theory. And
Yeah.
it's not like I'm the only one that has a theory. But there is a world to believe that she wrote it. She doesn't remember writing it, but in her grief and disassociation, she wrote the book. And then when she destroys it, she rewrites it. Because when it comes back the second time, it has a lot more on the second half. Reasons to think this
Yes,
are, here's
please.
my
I'm blown away.
and I sent you pictures. Do you have
I
those?
shall reference the pictures.
Okay, and Pete, I will send you these.
Flash alert. Tom did send me these pictures. And if you're using a podcatcher, a podcast app that actually shows pictures as you look at it and changes the album artwork for the podcast, you should be able to look at your podcast player and see, as our chapters change, what those pictures are right now as Tom talks about them. Otherwise, swipe up in the show notes or go over to the website and you will be able to see those pictures.
Reasons from the, all right, Tom, maybe to slowly getting, oh, maybe he does have a point. If you go to Babadook-1.
Babadook-1.
This is obviously
It makes me feel like I'm a lawyer or,
Yeah, this is, what do they call those? Exhibit. This is Exhibit A.
Yes.
This is a scene from the book.
Yes.
Just a shot. If you look at the coloring of the house and the almost German German expressionism type of cinematography that the movie uses, go to Babadook-2.
Babadook-2.
The house looks like the book. Like the coloring, it's all that dark, it's all that kind of sickly gray or blue thing. So she's in effect potentially drawing what she sees and what she feels.
Wow.
Number two, when she's at that horrible...
just for those who aren't, people don't really reference pictures when they're listening to podcasts. So the first picture was of the book, and now this is of her climbing up her staircase. And she is somewhat colorful in her nurse's uniform, but the house is very gray and bleak.
It almost looks like a set. It looks like you have a house that isn't finished yet. It's been sketched in.
And you took these pictures. I can see the little Samsung. These aren't like downloaded from the internet. So this
I don't know how to do that.
Quite nerdy, sir.
I thought you'd like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exhibit.
Of course.
In the scene in the horrible birthday party when Essie's character, what's her name? These are all things that I should have. Doesn't matter. Amelia. Nope. Andy. Nope. It doesn't matter. When she is talking to her sister and her sister's horrible friends, the sister brings up the fact that she used to be a writer. And she says, oh, that was a long time ago. I did some children's stuff. So she references the fact that at one point in her life, she wrote children's books.
Okay, so where did these theories come from? Are you on Reddit late at night, or you?
No, these are just my thoughts.
And you said you're not the only one.
Oh, I assume I'm not the only one. My apologies. I haven't looked this up, but I can't imagine that. I'm sure people have done smarter versions. So I think I say that a lot. My last thing to bring up as a possibility is when she go to Babadook-3. This is when she destroys the book. She puts it, this is a close-up of her hands on a gas can. She has put it on a grill. She is burning it up.
Yes.
The very next scene.
Yes.
And you see her calling the police. Do I have that one? Yes. Go to Babadook-4.
Oh my God, I love you for this.
Her hands are covered. I don't believe that's soot from the fire. We just saw her light the fire. Her hands were completely clean. Those look like they are covered in charcoal. And that is what is made to write the book. I believe at some point in between that big cut of burning the book, she remade it.
Now, have you ever looked up this theory?
No.
Don't you want to, aren't online, wouldn't other people be saying, no, and here's why not, or yeah, and here's further proof? Wouldn't you want that?
I would.
When I had excited.
Back when I had these thoughts the first time, I guess the time to do it was when I just rewatched it for this podcast, because I feel like back in 2014,
right?
Did we have that kind of online?
I have no idea.
See, I don't know if we did. I think that was back in the day when I would watch horror movies over and over again and then be like, well, those are my opinions. Goodbye. And it's not like I knew anybody else that was watching the Babadook at that point. I didn't have nerdy horror friends.
And the Babadook, I did a little reading because, I'm a classy ass podcaster. And it was not a big success in Australia and then gained a lot of fame as it made its way probably on DVD or whatever. It became a cult classic.
That makes sense. Sure.
It initially was not a huge hit at all. So
I didn't know that. I thought it was like a world where everyone was like, oh, everything's changed now. But so it came on later. That's cool.
So when they're reading this book, a normal person would say, holy shit, who would write a creepy ass children's book? Who would read it to their kid? This is so unrealistic. Let's take a little story break. And let me tell you about the time that I was pregnant
Okay.
and Jer, I wish I could remember the name of the book, found an old book from his childhood. And he said, I loved this book as a kid. Can I read it to your stomach? This is the thing that
Oh,
people, right? You listen to music and so he sat down and he read to my stomach, and it was about a donkey and a magic pebble. And turns out the donkey gets kidnapped and the mother is just grieving and trying to find the kid who took the magic pebble and gets kidnapped. And I was like, stop, stop, stop. What are you reading? This is
was it becoming
atrocious.
alarming to him, or he was
Yes,
just so
he was like,
he was.
whoa. Why did I not see how
Right.
scary and sad this children's book was when
Right.
he was a kid? I mean, the 70s. Am I right?
And you are right.
So anyway, so I just thought, well, no, that does happen.
It can happen.
I mean, these
And if
kids
she,
books.
and if she wrote the book, if we like that theory at all, it makes sense the way that she acts. That she doesn't recoil in horror. She doesn't say, "What is this book? Where did it come from?" She doesn't rip it up right away. She hides it.
Yep.
And then the second time she rips it up. And then
Yep.
it's very sloppily taped back together. This is potentially someone, again, in a disassociative state.
Right,
That
right.
this is her release. She's getting this across.
Oh, I
Because
love
her
that theory.
grief is becoming so unmanageable, it is breaking it in. I mean, and so much of the book, of course, is just about that. I mean, after the talk with her sister at that same horrific birthday party, when the sister says, "It'll be 7 years, isn't it time you moved on?" She answers, "I have moved on. I don't mention him. I don't talk about him." The next time we see the book, what is added is, in the book, it's written, "I'll wager with you, I'll make you a bet, the more you deny, the stronger I get." By keeping her
Chills.
grief
Yeah.
stuffed down in the basement even of her house. She's even physically stuffed down her grief, both in her physical world and mental world. The Babadook is getting stronger and stronger until she turns out to be not a great mom for a while.
Right. Well, the Babadook is, manifests into a real monster, but it is clearly her grief, and we'll get to how the book changes.
Sure.
But another example of, is this okay for kids? Is Monsters, Inc. really freaked a lot of kids out. Did you ever see Monsters, Inc.?
I don't think I did, but that's the
So
one
the
where they
whole
jump out
idea,
of closets?
yes, that it like you get assigned to go haunt a kid at night. And
What's the point?
I don't remember, but
Oh, okay.
I was fucking high. No, I'm just kidding. But I've seen the movie with kids I nannied for
And
in
it's
DC.
legitimately scary. Yeah.
Yes. So there is something to.
You're right. Well, that's also the thing about how Disney at some point decided it's my job to teach all children about loss.
Parents die.
Parents die. Like, why is that your job, guy? why don't it's just about penguins singing or something like that. But
Real sicko.
yeah.
Well, so this is all in about 20 minutes. She reads the book, but nothing's happening. Nothing scary is happening. She's going to work. The kid has some trouble at school. He's very annoying. She's getting frustrated. But I was breathing funny because
Yeah,
of the
that's crazy.
anticipation of what was coming.
Sure.
And
Because you can
that's,
feel something mounting.
yes.
Yeah.
But nothing's happening. I want to make it clear. We're just watching their day to day. It was so well done for me to be breathing shallow, feeling something coming. And then they get to the birthday party that you've mentioned.
Sorry.
And I
yeah.
just want to say that in today's society, all of these shitty white wealthy women were like, ugh, Samuel. And they were all rolling their eyes openly at this child.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We wait till they leave. And then we trash that shitty little kid, right?
Yeah. That's
But
what
we
texts
wouldn't
are
do it.
for. I get it.
Right. We wouldn't do it right in front of the kid and the mom. So
No. Yeah.
that is a very unbelievable part of a very realistic movie.
Sure.
But then maybe they're driving from the party, but I wrote at 32 minutes they're in the car and she's just had it. She's fried, she's not sleeping, and the kid is being so annoying. Mama, 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 mama. And then he stops and he looks to his right and goes, "Get out! Get out!" And I got chills from every part of my body. My chills had chills. It was so well done. And this kid is such a good actor.
He's
His name is
incredible.
Noah Wiseman.
Noah Wiseman is incredible, and he is like a little terror at times, and also the
Mhm.
cutest thing in the world.
Yep.
To play him so sympathetically, unsympathetically, and make you root for him so hard towards the end is really incredible.
Such a little talent and doesn't work all that much, looking him up on
Right.
IMDb.
Yeah,
So not sure if he was like, "Yeah, because it's not for me,"
sure.
which I hope he's doing well in whatever he's
In real
doing.
estate or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, oh my god, is he a talented kid.
And there's nothing fake, there's nothing child actory about him.
Not really, he's
Yeah.
just and he's so good at being annoying.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that
He's
scene
truly annoying.
when he stops, when she starts to really change, I mean, because there's another big monster in this movie, in a way, and it's being an unfit mother.
Mm,
She acts eventually in ways that is completely destructive.
mhm,
She completely gives in. You don't give in to depression, but she falls complete victim to her depression. She stops feeding him. She becomes just outright abusive. One of the
mhm,
things that I didn't remember about this movie is how harrowing. Just if you rip out the horror stuff and the Babadook, and you just
mhm.
see it as a tale of depression leading to child abuse, it is
Yeah.
harrowing. It is really,
Yep.
really tough. I didn't remember how long we spent there with her not feeding him and her saying, "Don't call anyone," all of that.
Ugh.
And so this movie really deals that's a really uncomfortable we're not supposed to have that. I think that's one of the reasons that they do make fun of her or talk shit about her kid in front of her is
Mhm.
because she's also being judged on motherhood by mothers.
Right.
And it's almost like the the film is really pointing out how motherhood is not just always rainbows for everybody. Motherhood can be enormously, enormously difficult, especially in the beginning, especially alone, especially when your child, in her case, is the physical embodiment and reminder of the loss of your life, the
Right.
loss of the love of your life. I mean, it's an impossible situation, and yet she is supposed to be a good little mother
Right.
and not
I've
kill the dog.
I've never had a negative thought or emotion as a mom.
Right.
It's so strange. It is literally the easiest,
Yeah.
purely most joyful
Can I
experience from day one.
Can I tell one story that I don't think I'm telling out of because it's a very mild one, but I remember talking to you when Casey was very, very, very young, and we were catching up a little bit, and I was like, "So what did you do today?" And you said, "We opened and closed a door for 45 minutes." He was at that age where just everything is a magic trick, and so he would just open and close it, and you were like, "He did it for 45 minutes." And you're
Yeah.
like, "I love him so much." And it was 45 minutes, and
Yeah.
I could hear a little bit of "duk, duk, duk" just in the background.
That's the sound the Babadook
It's the sound of the
makes.
Babadook, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and the fact
yeah.
that there's no with the, welfare workers or social workers
Mhm.
that show up,
Mhm.
there's no place in this movie, in the world that this movie presents to be any kind of an unfit mother, so she's punished all over the place from every part, and that only makes her repression and depression worse and worse, which is
Yeah.
thrilling
And
and
yeah,
scary.
I mean, later I put it's this combination of grief, sleep deprivation, and mom stress
Right.
with a difficult kid. It's just the perfect storm. It's only bad things can happen in this state. Um, so nope, before that, roaches? Nope, fuck you, Tommy. I wouldn't assign you an ant movie.
I didn't remember the roaches at all.
Lot of roaches, and I
Yeah.
had a bad dream that night about
Oh,
roaches.
did you? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So
Uh, well, I couldn't watch Ant-Man, so you're right. Are
So
you
I hope you enjoy your last appearance on my podcast.
two-timer club? Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I did not
Um,
remember the amount of rotting imagery festering underneath the level. I mean, it's because it's the same thing of like what's going on in her mouth.
yeah.
She's constantly that can be explained by, TMJ, anything when you have an enormous amount of tension, you keep it in your mouth. But then when she's taking her own tooth out, things are just like the foundation is rotting.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
all because of what's underneath.
But do you have dreams you lose your teeth or that your teeth are crumbling?
No, I never have, but we
Oh,
talked
I've
about
been
on Pete and I's, we had a listener talk about how they kept having dreams about falling down and cracking teeth. And
Oh,
we looked up in dream theory, about how that has to do with, feeling like your foundation, you're like the world is being swept out from under you. Usually it happens when you change jobs, change partners, when you move. The
uh-huh.
idea of like this thing, my bones are no longer as strong as I thought they were emotionally.
I've heard many different theories because
True.
I often have dreams that my teeth are falling out or just crumbling in my mouth. It's not falling down the stairs or anything. It's just
Oh, okay.
my teeth are just falling out. And I've heard it's you're worried about money or you're worried about
Sure.
loss or so we'll never really know.
Nope, dreams.
Um,
God's little movies.
at 49 minutes
Mhm.
is the first time we see the Babadook.
Okay, what do we see exactly?
I don't remember because Joey, my kitten, woke up out of a quiet, peaceful sleep, woke up, freaked out, and jumped off the bed.
Oh god.
And so I was typing that, and I'm not sure what the imagery was.
Sure.
But even Joey's afraid of the Babadook.
One of the things that I don't know how well some of the effects have aged.
Mm.
Some of the special effects, like the Babadook itself, when you see it,
Hmm.
it looks a little low rent, maybe.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, but maybe it's supposed to be more representative of a storybook looking thing. It doesn't ever look like a real
No,
creature.
no.
Yeah.
Right. It looks like a shadowy,
Right.
yeah. But with long,
Yeah. Long finger,
talony,
long
yeah.
talonies. And
Um,
his top hat, which we think might be representative of the reason that there's a top hat there for the Babadook
uh-huh.
is in, did I give you image 0745?
I believe you did,
Down
counselor.
down in the hidden basement.
Oh,
When the
no,
kid
he
break
didn't.
I didn't?
Uh-uh.
Anyways, it's that picture of, and I'll send this.
Oh, yes, you did.
I did.
0745.
That's down in the basement. That's her late husband's clothes.
Right.
And there's the hat, the
But
weird
that's
hat.
not a top hat.
No, but I think
That's like a
everything, but
fedora.
also like those aren't fingernails that the Babadook has. I feel like everything has become monsterized
Right.
a little bit. Just the fact
Well,
that
the
the
kid wears
inclusion
a
of
top
the hat.
hat as a magician. What do you make of that?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. I didn't even think about that.
Hmm. Mhm.
Oh, who's got the exhibits now?
Right?
Yeah, but that's right.
Um,
But you're right. You're exactly right about the magic. Yeah.
well, so as I watch, I often am pausing and looking up stuff and researching just so I understand why this is such a beloved movie. And you've spoken about that a bit, why you love it and how you think it changed the movie game and the horror genre. But I found something, I don't know where, it said the Babadook has become a cult classic, partly due to its popularity as an internet meme, with
Oh.
the titular monster being ironically adopted as a queer icon.
Oh, yeah. I do know a little bit about this.
Please expound, expand.
If I remember correctly, because I'm very late to the game of knowing what gay icons are, I'm always like,
Okay.
what? Not that I don't know why I'd have my finger on the pulse of that.
Right.
But anyway, apparently Netflix labeled it as an LGBTQ movie. This is way
Okay.
before we had Qs involved yet. And it just and so it would come up if you were looking for any queer themed films, Babadook would just come up there right away. And then it
So
just
people
sort
were
of like,
pressing play.
right, and being like, "What? What is this?" I think it's a mix between that is like how it started, and then also, at least in the book, and in sort of the kids thing is more of like a bureau, but it's sort of someone that is hiding in a closet, but you can't deny its power, so it comes out loud and proud. And then there's that whole Babadook gay sex scene at the end of the book. I don't know, did you see that? Those are I remember about the mislabeling by Netflix and it becoming kind of a joke. And then that's me postulating about the closet and coming.
Okay.
I don't know if postulating is a word.
I like both of those
Okay.
things that you just said. And I wouldn't have thought of either one of those. So,
Okay. But I think Netflix, because this lived on Netflix for a while. And I think that's where, and I think once Netflix, because Netflix was so early in the game that other listings would just copy what Netflix said. And so it would just be sort of like spread around as an LGBTQ movie, even though it is 100% not.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for enlightening me on that. I had no idea. So back to the movie. She is watching a lot of TV at night. She can't sleep. And they very cleverly use a lot of public domain, like old,
Like Malay's Brothers, or like the
I
first
don't know what that
movies
is.
ever made. It's all that trippy. The first time that we were doing jump cuts, it's like what the movie Hugo was about. It's like we didn't know what cameras were, so everything was amazing. And the most popular show was Train coming at camera.
Right. I love that movie. Oh,
Yeah. Cowboy shoots gun at audience.
yes. So she's watching all of this, public domain-y stuff.
Yeah.
And then a news story comes on.
Oh man, I didn't remember this at all.
This is maybe my favorite part. I wrote my favorite part so far.
Okay.
So she's watching a news story where they're describing, is it that the neighbor died? Her sweet little old neighbor, Gracie? Or like
No, I thought that she was saying
mom
that
killed her kid.
a mom killed her son.
Okay.
Correct.
So it's a local news report. We're here at the site where a mom has killed her little kid, and she leans in because the Babadook book has now, all the words are different, and it's showing her murdering her dog and her kid.
Correct. Right.
She's watching this news report, very scared and interested and intrigued by it. And then within the news report, they're showing the building where this happened. She appears in the window with a creepy smile, like at herself. It is so well done. It is just the height of paranoia.
Yeah.
And it's just, this movie just gives you chills in such great ways.
That scene reminded me a lot of Requiem for a Dream. I don't know how familiar you. Oh, you haven't seen? Okay. But it plays a lot. Ellen Barkin? I can't be right. Whoever the main woman is, the older woman.
I don't know. Maybe it is. No, Burstyn. Ellen Burstyn.
Ellen Burstyn plays a woman who's addicted to TV and then is addicted to pills, and she starts showing up in the TV that she's watching. And it becomes more and more horrific, more horrifying. I wonder if he saw, I don't know which came first, but I have a lot of that same feel.
Requiem for a Dream is much older.
Was much older. Okay. Well, then maybe Jennifer Kent saw that, but no, it's a very cool way to do it. It's that whole idea of like opening the casket and seeing yourself in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like one of the oldest kind of tropes that we have.
Yes. But this was, just so cool.
Yeah, really cool.
And then her husband comes back to life and is in the basement or in her visions. And we need to stop down for a second because Oscar is his name, the character name. So dreamy.
Very dreamy.
He says, "Bring me the boy" or something. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
You're going for it?
Whatever you want, Oscar.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I will do it. He was so handsome and dreamy.
He's very handsome.
I mean,
dead, but he's also like, he's the perfect kind of handsome because you don't know anything about him. And he's kind of dark. And he's a period of hopeful light in this movie when it's the exact opposite. But yeah, his pitch is pretty much bring me the boy and then we can be together. Yeah. And that's when the Babadook, that's around the same time that the book, like you said, is pretty much giving the plan. is
Yeah.
kill the dog, kill the boy, kill yourself.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Because one of the
Bada bing, bada boom, huh?
yeah, yeah,
That's the plan.
fun stuff. This movie, the thing that people don't talk about is how funny it is.
And the musical numbers, the choreography.
Mr.
So
Babadook.
catchy.
That's where the top hat comes in. Yeah.
So she kills the dog.
Oof. I still have not watched that scene.
Okay, I wrote, I'm surprised you can watch this, Tommy, although I love killing animals in movies, for laughs.
No, there
I
are
have a long
certain
history of
scenes
writing scenes where animals are killed.
where
because
animals
I think
die.
they're-
We all have kinks. I would never yuck your yum. But no, I know you don't care for it. I know. There are scenes in many movies that I have never watched, and this is one of them. Meaning,
I
like I
don't
cover
blame you.
my eyes and I go
Yeah.
da da da, so I can't hear anything, and then I keep like flicking my eyes up until it's over.
Okay.
So I don't know how
why,
I
I
don't
don't know why you're going to do the flicking. The choreography and what you just did was incredible.
because then I can sort of see. It's how I
Uh-huh.
watch part of the substance. Is you have to watch through fluttering fingers so you know what's happening, but you're not going to see something you can't unsee.
What's the substance?
The substance is the Demi Moore movie that she might be nominated for. It's one of the big
Oh,
horror phenoms of this year,
right. Oh, okay.
and it's the grossest movie I've ever seen.
Oh.
Yeah.
So then she is now inhabited by the Babadook, right? We're at that point. She's no longer human.
She's goes back and forth. She has
Okay.
times, I think, but for the most part, she has lost the tug of war that was going on within her. If
Okay.
we want to say that her good mom is on one side and Babadook being the manifestation of all the things, she's losing that fight. Very much so.
And she leaps up and kicks in the door.
Yeah.
And it's slightly animated and special effecty, but looks real.
Yep.
And it so harkened back to The Exorcist when she crab walked down the stairs.
That's right.
Like that physicality.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I'm actually doing the
You're
walk.
doing
every
it.
day.
You guys, this is why you got to be here for the live stream. Yeah, and then that same physicality is later used in Hereditary. That exact same kind of feeling. Different director. I'm just saying about the
Oh.
influential nature of this movie. That
Babadook.
thing, that the Babadook
Uh-huh.
does. That the Hereditary takes whole scenes and physicality from the Babadook, which is
In
cool.
Hereditary is Tony Collette
Correct. Tony Collette,
with my boyfriend Patrick Wilson.
is
No.
he in it? No, it's Gabriel Byrne. Is that your
Oh.
boyfriend too?
You can have him.
But like she at one point is like scampering around and like climbing up walls and stuff, and it has a lot in a nightie too. It's interesting. It has a lot of the exact same kind of
Uh-huh.
look to it, which is cool.
That's worth the price of admission. You get a moment like that, but this mom becoming something other than
Yeah.
human. I keep doing it, and I'm hoping it's
I know.
freaking you off.
That little like
I'm trying
jerky
to,
kind of
the
thing.
jerky moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
but so well done.
Uh-huh.
This movie. Do we know what the budget was? It was nothing. It
Can't
was
be.
just a couple people in a house. It was
Yeah. It's got to be incredibly
Oh.
little. Yeah.
and she is now going to maybe kill
Mhm.
Samuel.
If she's continuing the plan, she's going to kill Samuel, then kill herself. That is
Right.
what the book has dictated.
And Samuel says to her, "You're not my mother." And I keep writing chills. I'm sorry, everybody. Drink. But that kid is so good. And I have a real, uh, I have a real affinity for smart kid characters in movies. And I remember in, oh my God, the one, the Don't Rock the Cradle. Is that,
Hands
is
that
that
rock the
what it's
cradle?
called? Hands That Rock the Cradle.
Yeah. Don't rock
Um,
that cradle.
The kids end up being really smart.
Yeah.
Home Alone, Kevin McAllister.
Sure.
He buys Tide. I love that movie. And
And this movie has some Kevin McAllister like
Yes,
traps
I
and
wrote
stuff
that.
like
Yeah,
this
I
also.
wrote
Yeah.
that. But he knows that this is not his mother. He knows she's been inhabited by this evil spirit, and he's gonna fucking get it out of her. He
Yeah.
goes for it, and I love it. Um,
And I think he
and he-
really started to sense that in the car when he sees the unseen figure and then has a convulsion. There's a way of looking at it that what he's picking up on is my mom is turning. that
Oh,
she's
fun.
so fed up, she's so dead. I mean, because this is a real low part. Well, the whole movie's a low part for her, for the wife. But
Mhm,
I mean, you can see this is near to where she's turning around and screaming, "Why can't you just be normal?" I mean,
mhm.
she is. It is. He's right. It's not his mother. It is what his
I
mother is becoming.
I am so not deep. Like, you have all these wonderful theories. Did you have them upon first viewing, or is that like, "I gotta watch that again," and
Very much a second. I'm an enormous repeat viewer, especially of movies that I think are interesting, or if I pick up on subtext, I really
Uh-huh.
want to go back. I wait for a little while, then I go back looking for that.
It's what I
Um,
did with the Eras movie.
is that Taylor Swift's movie?
Yeah.
I didn't even get it for a second. You're like, oh, wait a minute. These
No,
are her songs.
no, but yeah. Oh, I watched it, and then I got the ticket for the next day and watched it again,
Yep.
and I've watched it twice since, and
I still
you
haven't seen
really
it.
get you're getting subtext
I know.
every time.
That will be when we have a reverse episode of Make Me a Nerd. You'll have me watch the Eras tour because I don't
I
know her
will
very well.
love that. Is
Just
that
let
a
me
promise?
know.
Because I really
Because I want an
I would
excuse to
like
watch it, but I
yeah,
don't.
and I would like to start doing that where,
That's fun.
"Hey, you've made me a nerd.
Yeah.
Now let's refer
You can write
you're
that
gonna
down.
be a three-timer." I thought you
Woo!
were gonna be to and through because of the
Of
roaches.
the aforementioned roaches thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm writing it down like
Okay.
it's not like we didn't just record that plan. But,
If only there was a document of this conversation.
oh, was I supposed to hit record? Okay, so he says, "You're not my mother,"
Right.
and then he stabs her, and then he says, "Sorry, mommy,"
Oh, I know.
and
He's so sweet.
oh my god, kid
Yeah.
that kid is such a good actor, and then so he flashing back to the beginning of the movie, he's scared of the Babadook and monsters, and he keeps building all these weapons and goofy things, and he breaks a window, and she's like, "You're crazy, stop doing this." But now that you're telling me all of this stuff, he it makes sense that he's paranoid if he's been sensing a shift in his mother and something looming, and he's like, "I'll protect you, I'll protect you." And it's, you know, well done, and I knew it was gonna happen in the beginning when he's making a booby trap and he's pulling a
Chekhov's rope. Yeah.
yeah, 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 and so oh, I got that reference, Tommy. But yeah, so he makes a booby trap and it works, Kevin McAllister. I just wrote, "He's such a good actor and he's cast so well with his annoying face."
Yeah.
So sorry, Noah Wiseman, but
Yeah.
I'm sure he turned out to be not annoying looking, but
Sure.
so he saves his mom, he gets the Babadook out, happy ending, things are brighter, and now they're doing projects together, and then, of course, I'm totally baffled by the ending. They're keeping the Babadook in the basement as a pet?
Sort of. Here's what I think, and I'm sure that this is what people that are making up things think, is
Wait,
I think this movie, unlike movies that just banish monsters
Mhm.
and phew, we saved the village, the end, everything's fine. If the Babadook is you, if the real monster is grief and trauma, you can't just erase it.
You have to
What
live
you
with it.
have to do is you have to have a healthy relationship with it. In effect, she's feeding it. You have to be like, it's gonna be okay. This is a part of me. Because otherwise, that was the repression, the denial that she was in. I have moved on. I don't mention him. I don't talk about him.
Right,
All she was thinking about was him all the
right,
time.
right.
And so I think that's what it is if we're pretending that the Babadook, Mr. Babadook, is a physical manifestation of that, then
Mhm.
that's her going into her head and just referencing it, saying, this is, you're still here. And it tries to take over. It has this big power movement. She leans all the way back, Smooth Criminal style in reverse. But then she says, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I think she's talking to herself. It's
Yeah,
okay.
oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm not that deep. I just was watching this thinking grief, you know, is messing with her
Sure.
and leaves her vulnerable to this monster, and I was just like, "Who left this book?"
Right.
Was it Gracie, the sweet next door neighbor with Parkinson's disease?
Right.
Maybe.
And it may have been. We don't know. This
Well,
movie
no,
leaves a
as
lot
you
of stuff
describe it, it
up.
makes perfect
Sure.
sense.
But again, I've seen it many times. So
Right.
I don't like you saying I'm not deep. I'm not deep. I've seen this movie many times and am naturally pretentious. So it works out
How
great.
many times have you seen it, would you say?
This will probably be the 4th.
Oh, that's not that many. I've seen Eras more.
Well, Eras, I think, might be a little bit more fun than Babadook. This movie gets, I mean, for a while, when they're just locked in the house,
Yeah.
from the time when she invites him into the tub,
Yes.
and from then on, there was a good chunk of like this. You
Yep.
could just take the monster out, and this would be a very affecting and very much of a drag to watch.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is so good.
Yeah.
Essie, what did I say her name was?
Davis?
Essie Davis.
Yeah.
Good on her.
And
She
what an
sounds a
incre-
lot like Kate Blanchett. A lot in this
She
movie.
does. Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. You're very right.
I'm
Oh,
always
that's
right.
funny. Maybe that's who it was, because while I was watching, I was like, who do I think this is?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if I've
Mia
seen a lot
Farrow
of.
and Kate Blanchett had a baby.
I love it.
Boom.
Boom. There's your other podcast.
Right?
Yeah.
Take that, Babadook. Oh my God, Tommy, did we miss anything? Are there other deep
Oh, one thing
theories or options?
that I noticed for the very first time in watching this one, partly because there were times when I knew, or maybe it was when I was looking away from the dog scene, but Babadook is in, what's it called when you unscramble letters?
An anagram?
It's an anagram. I think it's an anagram for a bad book. I've never noticed that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It sure is.
A bad book. And I've never thought of that before. That's cool.
You're brilliant. Why has no one uncovered this genius?
The camera turns, you see all of like the internet research that I've done. There's like tabs and tabs and tabs open.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think we've definitely talked about this stuff, and I'm glad that this movie moved you and made you feel it. Because I mean, sometimes it's hard for me to nail down exactly what kind of effed up you like, because there are certain turns of effed up where you're like, I can't do it, or
Right.
no, I can't. That's just too sad. This is a miserable, sad movie
Yep.
about loss and children in danger. And when I was watching, I was like, oh wait, this isn't for Mandy. Then I was like, wait, Mandy loves. We need to talk about Kevin.
Children in peril.
She's gonna be fine. I always have to
Yep.
remember that part. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The very last thing I think I would want to say is one of the saddest lines in it, potentially. Or maybe if you're looking at him dealing with grief in a good way, maybe it's a happy line. But when the son at the very end, before she goes down to feed it, says, will I get to see it? Hold on. Will I ever see it? And she says, one day when you're bigger.
Oh.
In effect, meaning right now
You'll
he's
know
a
this
kid.
kind of grief.
You'll know this kind of grief, or you'll have a real relationship with your late father. You can't have that. But the fact that I don't think it's ever occurring to a kid of this age that I don't have a dad, other than when that little horrible girl is making fun of him for it.
Right.
So at some point he will have this type of grief, or even for his father, and then he'll have his own Babadook. That's sad and
Well, now I'm
hopeful.
depressed.
I know. That's the Tommy promise. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. All right. I am going to do my business, and then you're going to tell everybody where they can find you.
Oh boy. Cue
and
that track.
Wow. Nobody else has ever cued him like that before. Make Me a Nerd is a production of True Story FM, engineering by the peerless Pete Wright. My theme song that Tommy sang earlier is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boy. And please reach out on socials. You can get me on Instagram at Mandy_Kaplan_Clavens, both with Ks. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, do me a favor. Write a review, hit 5 stars, and let me know what you think. It helps other people get to know this podcast. It helps me grow. And if you are feeling extra supportive, you can go to makemeanerd.com and join the club. You get your episodes ad-free and early, and more content and access to me. Who doesn't want that? Tom W. Metz III.
Hello.
Hi. If people are thinking, this guy is just hilarious, so smart.
So easy on the eye. Wait, what?
Yep. So easy on the eyes, and, really takes excellent care of his dog. Where can they hear you further?
Yeah, the right here on TrueStory.fm, the guy that's making this podcast work, the aforementioned Peerless Pete Wright, and I co-host a podcast called All the Feelings, where we started as a podcast just about anxiety, then it moved to emotions, then we did sins and virtues. We have done 8 seasons, I think 8
right?
seasons. Something like that. And then we're going to be starting working on our next one. We have not released exactly what the theme of that is going to be, but you can go to allthefeelings.fun to find out more about that. And that's Pete and I. Thank you, please. Yeah.
If anybody's curious, have you ever directed a feature film that I wrote and starred in that's available on Tubi?
Why, yes. It's called, well, depending on where in the country you are, it's either called 30 Nights, 30 Nights of Sex, or 30 Nights of Sex to Save Your Marriage. It is a romantic body adult comedy that Mandy, Johnny Jackaloni, and I co-wrote. They produced it, I directed it, and it is available. It was on Amazon Prime for many years. Now it is on Tubi, and you should go see it.
Everyone, please go see it. And please join me next week as I finally watch Buffy. How am I a person in the world at my advanced age who has never seen Buffy?
I've only seen one episode, and I know it's one of the episodes that you're watching.
Yes.
Yeah.
True. We've talked about it before. Okay, so that will be with Kyle Olson and Pete Wright, who will then get their T-shirts from Two-Timing Tommy.
Flash alert. Hi, it's Pete, and I'm here to tell you that Mandy's not talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer with me and Kyle next week. No, because I got sick and we had to reschedule. Instead, she's going to be talking to Dana Ogle about A Court of Thorn and Roses, once again to try to prove to you all that she knows how to read.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next week.